It's 12, any scalp that was 12 and older, especially a male scalp, was worth something like 100 pounds or something like that. I believe that that was the number. And it doesn't matter the amount that they're paying for it, but just from a standpoint that the government was paying people, or I don't know, the government, the military, whatever you want to call it at that point, because how can you govern a land that's not yours?
Oh my God.
I mean, now, for those that are familiar with why that saying became very popular, when JFK passed away, Malcolm X made the comment that the chicken's coming home to roost. And when he made that comment, he actually was put on timeout by the Nation of Islam. He was already on bad terms with them, was supposed to be silenced for a certain amount of days for some other things that he had got involved with when he was getting ready to split with the Nation of Islam. And he made the comment that he said a few things. Matter of fact, do I have the entire thing that he mentioned? He said, "It was, as I saw it, a case of the chickens coming home to roost. I said that the hate in white men had not stopped with the killing of defenseless black people, but that hate allowed to spread unchecked had finally struck down this country's chief magistrate." So those were his comments being around the chickens coming home to roost. And he mentioned, I think the exact quote is, "Being an old farm boy myself, chickens coming to roost never did make me sad. They've always made me glad." Now, the more I learn about RFK Jr., first and foremost, the more I learn about JFK, where we will be talking about RFK Jr. today and some of the work that he's doing on the health side of things. But the more I learn about JFK, obviously I wasn't born then, the more I learn about him, he was going to be a very significant president. He was going to be a very significant president. A lot of people may think that he already was a significant president, but there seems to be a lot of things that he was putting in play that we're now seeing the impact of not having those things put in play, how they've impacted us. Different things with Israel, different things across the board, even different things when it comes to the health that RFK Jr. talks about a lot. But when it comes to the chickens coming home to roost, what do I mean? What do I mean? All right, so let me kind of give y'all a little bit of insight on how I spent some of my weekend. And let me actually get y'all the exact movie. So there's a movie, Kevin Costner, Western movie on Netflix. All right, so I watched this 3-hour Kevin Costner movie. I believe it says it's Kevin Costner's passion project. I believe he might have wrote it. He may have, did he write it? I believe he wrote it. He produced it and maybe directed it. I'm not sure. You guys can check it out. But Kevin Costner's, he's turning into the new age. What was the guy? What was the popular guy, the actor that used to play in all the Western movies? Clint Eastwood. He's turning into the new Clint Eastwood when it comes to a lot of these Westerns. And Kevin Costner, he put out this movie, Horizon. I believe it came out last year. And the only reason I noticed it is because they were getting ready to take it off Netflix. You know how Netflix will highlight, hey, this is only here till July 25th or something like that. So I decided, you know what? I'm a big Yellowstone fan. Let me take a look at this. So I found myself going down a rabbit hole when there were a few scenes in the movie when they were scalping the Native Americans. And I don't know about y'all and your upbringing or schooling, but when I grew up, when I was learning in school, is more so that the natives were savages. We knew that they liked living off the land and that they were very particular. They didn't waste, a lot of animal products. They would use the animal bones for their utensils, all these different things. But it was very much, it was conveyed to us that they were the savages and that the Europeans coming over, they were the more sophisticated ones. And when it came to this thing of scalping, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with scalping, where very brutal, after you kill somebody or as you're killing somebody or whatever way you go about it, they would take a knife and cut the scalp of somebody's head off. And obviously, you can imagine that that was very brutal. So I started thinking, and I was like, yo, I remember, even though I grew up being taught more that this was a Native American thing that they were doing to Europeans that came over, I started to think about, wait, weren't Americans doing that? And it sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I'll try to, if I can, I don't really need to pull up the chat GPT for you all. But I believe that, matter of fact, I have it on my phone. I have it on my phone. Don't trip. I don't even need it. I don't need it. You know what I mean? I don't need it. Just having a combo with y'all. And I started to look up on chat GPT and I said, did Americans scalp natives? And a whole bunch of stuff came out that was disturbing. And during different wars or whatever, I guess who deems it a war, right? Well, I want your land. You don't want to give it to me. So now it's a war. So me pretty much in the process of stealing your land, one of the strategies that the American government or the European government implemented at that particular time was paying for scalps. In any territory that they wanted to take over, they paid people, not the military, they paid people, not everybody, for scalps. So imagine going into somebody else's land and being incentivized to not only take their land, but to kill everyone on the property. And something that stood out to me, and obviously this is chat GPT, so, we got to take it with a grain of salt at some point, but I would love to see anybody, give me any conflicting information. One of the things that I saw was that it was either 12 and older or above 12, let's say 12, any scalp that was 12 and older, especially a male scalp, was worth something like 100 pounds or something like that. I believe that was the number. And it doesn't matter the amount that they're paying for it, but just from a standpoint that the government was paying people, or I don't know, the government, the military, whatever you want to call it at that point, because how can you govern a land that's not yours?
First and foremost, want to give a huge shout out to everybody that continues to tap in with us, like and subscribe and join our community. If you haven't already, please make sure that you do. We look forward to engaging in some dope combo with you that can help us all elevate. So like, subscribe, and maybe even share the video if you're feeling real generous. On that note, we'll let you get back to the video. See you soon. Ew.
Right. So for me to say the government was paying people, I guess that's a little bit misleading. But whoever was coming here to try to take land that didn't belong to them, they were getting paid by their government, wherever they came from, to collect the scalps of Native Americans. And the ones that were really incentivized at a higher amount were 12 and older. 12 and older. That's insane. That level of evil that we all stand on as we're celebrating July 4th over the weekend, as we appreciate all these freedoms that we have in this country, as we appreciate the ease and comfort of this country that we live in, I got to be honest, it kind of just makes you think. It kind of just makes you think. And the thoughts that were going through my mind directly pointed to what's going on in Palestine. We hear about half the people that have been killed have been women and children. And we call these Arab Muslim savages, right? Terrorists. And when I think about it and look, let's just say at the last 500 years since Europeans came to America, and just around the world, who's committed the most terror throughout the world? Let me ask you this question first. When you think in your mind, let's just be honest about who's a savage, the type of people that were portrayed as savages. Remember when Black people were enslaved in America? And the reason that they were giving is because they're less than their 3/5 or whatever. That was more on the voting side, but they're beastly beings and they're savages. So therefore, them being enslaved, we're actually doing them a favor. I'm not sure if you've heard those arguments, but I have. Just doing different research, reading different things. Those are some of the justifications of slavery. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, black and brown people across the world have been regarded as beastly savages. Beastly savages. In my mind, I'm thinking like of the pictures where they try to make the big strong nigga the like a image of a gorilla. You know what I mean? Like those type of things. I've seen these. I don't even know where I've seen them, but they're just, the images are coming to my mind. And I'm sitting here thinking like, damn, black and brown people, when I look at things for the last 500 years, what savage acts have been committed? And there have been some. You look at Africa, some of the things, and shout out to Trump. I believe he just brokered a deal or a peace treaty between was it the Congo, Republic of Congo? I forget these. I don't want to, but maybe we'll cover that this week. But I'm just sitting here with these thoughts and how we're programmed and how we're propagandized to see different things in a certain way. So therefore, we won't have any empathy or sympathy for the struggle or the evil that another group of people are going through. Now, I'm not at all sitting here trying to act as if white people commit more evil acts than black people, regardless of history. I'm not trying to say that inherently what a lot of people actually, it's funny because I guess I have to defend this, even though we grow up in America almost assuming that black people are more inherently dangerous, right? Let's just be honest. That's just something that has always been propagandized in America. So now I'm sitting here because I'm just looking at what has happened. Last time I checked, black people weren't the Nazis. Last time I checked, black people weren't, coming to America and terrorizing Americans and paying for indigenous scalps. Last time I checked, even when it comes to, I guess separate the black and brown people. Now, the Arab slave trade, that was something that was obviously very vicious. But I don't want to get into the tit for tat because that's not where I'm trying to go with this. What I'm trying to go with it is just to remind us how things can be propagandized in a way and conveyed to us in a way that we are completely misled. We are completely misled to the point where we'll sit here and be okay with justifying 100,000 Palestinians dying or whatever number it is. We don't know. Let's say it's 70,000. We'll do a safe number, 70,000 Palestinians dying just because, and I have to say it like that, just because. It is just because. Because, or you want me to take the just out? Because 200 people were kidnapped. Think about that. So as these thoughts are coming to mind, and I'm watching this TV, I'm watching this movie over the weekend, it kind of reminded me this morning of when I was choosing a title for the show, because sometimes I'll get up and, choose the title as I'm putting everything together. The chickens have come home to roost across the country, across the world. The chickens have come home to roost. Energy is real. People that don't believe in energy, in my opinion, are just looking to excuse or validate their poor behavior or not acknowledge that any evil that you do eventually is going to come back. Any evil that you put out is eventually going to come out. So when we look at these Iranians and we say that they're deaf to America and they're terrorists, and we're going to watch a bunch of different videos, and one in particular, the guy Adam from Valuetainment, he made a comment that said when Palestinians care more about their kids, and I've heard this before, he's not the first person to say it, but he was saying, a popular quote, that when Palestinians care more about their kids, or when those Muslims, those terroristic Muslims care more about their kids than they hate Jewish people, then peace will be more realistic. And I just was scratching my head when I heard this, and I'm like, yo, the nerve, the audacity, like the elitism of that type of statement is insane. But a lot of people actually believe that. A lot of intelligent people, a lot of powerful people, a lot of people that control this world that we live in, they actually will convey this to us to have us thinking this type of thing. So we just look at all the evil stuff that we're doing to justify having more wars, making more money, right, for our military industrial complex, all these different things. It's all just BS. It's all just propaganda. It is all just propaganda. And this is why I call BS on a lot of this stuff. And this is why even when I get into conversations with a lot of the people that I agree upon policy-wise when it comes to conservative values, conservative things of that nature, we always come to a standstill at a lot of these points. And I'm realizing that the only way, or what I believe is the reason why we come to a standstill at a lot of these points, is because deep down, we've been conditioned to believe that certain people's lives matter more than others. It just is what it is. Like, there's absolutely no way that you can be a Zionist, a Jewish Zionist person, and think that you're entitled to some land where nobody living on that land ever looked like you, ever had your skin tone. Your people don't come from that. Let's just be honest. Like, you're European. You can say that you were connected through religion. You can say that you connected through these things. And even when I type this in the chat GPT, I'm sitting here saying, like, yo, how can people claim a land where nobody in the region looks like these people? Now they'll say, oh, well, they spent 1,000 years up north in the cold, so therefore it changed the color of their skin. That's BS. That's BS. I don't care if my mother could spend 1,000, people that the lightest skin as my mother could spend 1,000 years in on the North Pole, and they're still not going to look like Europeans look. It just is what it is. What did they say? Okay, you're going to spend 1,000 years in the cold, and you're only going to, they told these black or brown people in that region, you're only going to have sex with white people. You can only, even if they did that, it's just not possible. But that's not the point that I want to land on. The audacity and the elitism comes when you're currently living on land that was stolen from people within the last few hundred years. Watch every Western movie. It's it's like plain as day. Like, they're literally pulling up to land that was not theirs. They're putting out flyers. They're selling lots of land that they do not own. And they're just taking it from people and saying, hey, we got $100 on any scalp of any Native American over 12 years old. Collect some scalps. We're getting rid of these people. That's how this land that we're living on was founded. I'm sorry, was renamed. I guess that's the proper word. Was conquered. And it was conquered. You gotta give it to people. It was conquered. But how can you have the audacity to ask people, do we think that Israel is entitled to exist, or Israel has the right to exist, while you're literally living on land, buying a whole bunch of it? I got a lot of Jewish buddies who are Zionists that own a lot of land. But you're buying something that you wouldn't be okay with if the shoe was on the other foot when it comes to Israel. So it's just all like, as I sit back and just think of these things, it just puts me in a very maybe interesting position, or gives me, or just I'm looking at it from an interesting perspective that perhaps a lot of other people, a lot of my friends, a lot of other people, maybe period, don't have this perspective. Like I told y'all before, one of the biggest gifts that I've been granted is the ability to interact with a lot of different people that come from a lot of different backgrounds and cultures. And I'm able to have these conversations with them. And I've gotten to the point where I realize, or I believe that deep down, people know the evil that they're doing, the people know that the evil that they're condoning. But we've just been so conditioned to look the other way or to blatantly just tell a lie in people's face, or first off in the mirror, that we start to believe our own BS. So those were just some of the thoughts that I just wanted to start off the show. So what we're going to get into, we're going to finish the letter. For those that didn't tap into the show on Friday, we actually were listening to the letter that Osama bin Laden wrote, his manifesto, based on why they decided to do 9/11, commit the 9/11 attacks. So now that you're kind of thinking, like, remember, so I should have added this to the context earlier. We were watching that on Friday. We were watching that on Friday where Osama bin Laden's speaking on the reasons why he did all these things, the reasons why he's committed to war against America. And the reasons that he's giving, I'm sitting here, I'm soaking it in. And then I'm watching the Western movie and I'm like, damn, America been committing some pretty evil acts for a very long time for us to believe that it won't come back to us, that these chickens won't come home to roost. It's pretty arrogant. It's pretty fucking arrogant. And I'm just like, I don't know where to go from it, or where to go. And I don't have an answer for any of this or solving any of these worldly problems. And I was talking to, so the person I speak to the most about it is my big bro, Pete. We just talk from a spiritual standpoint and we connect a lot of the history. Thank you. To the spirituality of everything, connecting all of us under God, this oneness. So the oneness, and when I say oneness, that always comes back to the only solution that there is. When we each see all of us as one, then we'll start to treat each other better. If we each understand that, hey, we're on the same team, we're in this together, I believe that's the first step. I don't know if that's the ultimate solution, or if things, once that happens, magically everything's good. But I don't think that we need to have an answer right now for us to understand that we need to position ourselves and move in that direction. You know what I mean? Like, we understand that the North Star, okay, the golden rule, we're treating each other how we want to be treated. The North Star, peace, all these things that we all wish that we could live in harmony and what it would look like. We understand the direction that we have to walk into. We may not necessarily know exactly how to get there, but in my opinion, that shouldn't stop us from starting to walk there, from starting to get there. You may not know how you're going to lose 100 pounds, but that, just because you don't know how you're going to lose all 100 doesn't mean you shouldn't start by doing something today where maybe you could lose a pound in the next week. I don't know, but it's just become more and more. And I know my thoughts are all over the place, but I just want to start off the show where I'm just kind of sharing y'all exactly where my mind is, where I'm just sitting here, like, I'm questioning so many different things. I'm like, yo, is this a simulation that we're living in? Are we really just getting gamed? Is this really just somebody not up in the clouds, but just from a powerful standpoint, just picking and choosing what's going to happen, like really playing chess with our lives? I'm really sitting here thinking that, because, even from a situation where, I was talking to Pete about, migrants and what they're coming in here doing, where they're trying to be very selective now with what migrants they're going to get rid of and what people they're going to get rid of. And it's almost to the point where, is this like their idea of like natural selection when it comes to, who's going to be in America? Are we eventually going to have, and I was talking to Pete about this, a Patriot score where like other countries are kind of implementing similar things, but pretty much a Patriot score where everything that I do, let's say I'm playing this Osama bin Laden video, I'm Googling Osama bin Laden, I'm Googling certain things. So my Patriot score goes down. But then Pete was saying like, oh, but if you post about July 4th and celebrating the Independence Day, maybe your score goes up. If I take a picture in an American, like all these different things, are we getting to that to where we're going to, where the powers that be are going to have so much information on us that is going to be how they keep track of us, keep us in line, and pretty much just spy on us to make sure that nobody's messing up their vision and their goal for what America is. So going back to the migration thing, I was sitting here and I'm like, okay. I'm like, the Democrats, they had to know that you shouldn't just open up the border, right? Like just from a standpoint of that. And maybe I shouldn't have said the Democrats, but let's just say America. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Take Democrat and Republican out of it. Let's just look at it from an American standpoint. The country of America and the leaders of America had to know that it probably wasn't the best thing to just open up your borders, right? We've heard people on all different sides, all different teams. I'm not going to mention the different teams, but prominent people who have been presidents on both sides in our lifetime call for the need to have a border. Strong border. Call for the need to have an actual wall on both sides. Maybe more on the side, maybe more people have actually called for it on the side that you don't think, compared to the person that obviously got famous and that was their rallying cry of build the wall. But just from a country standpoint, they had to know that just opening up your borders is not going to be like a favorable thing for America, especially coming in at those numbers, that how it would impact us, how it would be such a heavy weight for American citizens to then have to pay when it comes to taxes to support people that come in here. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, the only way to justify that would be to have people hate the person so much who's saying that they're going to build the wall. And then it would justify people now saying, no wall, we're welcoming people in. And then the only way to justify deporting certain types of people is to have people then hate the fact that all these people came in here illegally, because it justifies, well, we got to deport people. You got 10 million people that came in here illegally. What are we supposed to do? They came here illegal. So I'm just realizing, hold on. I took my charger out, but I realized that the computer runs better with the charger in. I don't like to overcharge it, but whatever. So I'm just sitting here thinking like, yo, all this is just like a game. This entire thing is just a game being played on all of us. Everything. It's all just seems like a game. It all just seems like somebody's playing The Sims and they're trying to figure out, they got different goals for the characters. And we're just sitting here thinking that we're making up our own minds, thinking that we're free thinkers. But in all actuality, we're just being controlled by the propaganda that gets presented to us. Just me. So those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. And I know that was probably a lot to digest, but those were just kind of the thoughts that I was having about all this. I mean, what are you guys thinking when you're looking at all this stuff going? It's a joke. This stuff is a joke. Like I'm going to show you something. So we have a bunch of different clips today. So we're going to look at bin Laden. We're going to finish that letter, that manifesto. We're going to discuss, there's a clip from Tucker Carlson where he's interviewing somebody. And hold up. I'm going to try to review it on the show with y'all, but Tucker Carlson just announced I think on Friday. I actually just signed up for his website. You had to pay for this interview, but he interviewed the Iranian president. He interviewed the Iranian president, and it's getting ready to come out soon. But neither here nor there. I just had to tell y'all that. I was excited. But Tucker Carlson is interviewing somebody who seems to have a lot of knowledge in this area, where they're discussing that America allegedly sponsored Saddam Hussein in Iraq with chemical warfare that I believe they got from the Germans, this technology or something that we'll look at the video, in order to use on Iranians. So it's like America tries to act like we don't have a hand in a lot of this stuff, or we're just the righteous people that, like, you know, we kill people, but not in the way that they kill people. Like, we kill people strategically, like, you know, in a proper way. You know what I mean? It's almost, that's like kind of like what Israel's saying, like, yeah, well, we destroyed a country, yeah, but we did it in a, it was very strategic how we went about it. We just had to do it because they had tunnels, so therefore we had to destroy the entire thing, and then we got to go. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at maybe a couple other videos. We're supposed to watch a video with RFK Jr. discussing some of the health advancements that we're making in his role, but honestly, probably won't get to that because that's probably going to end up on the back burner. What else do we have? Yeah, I think we can, and then we'll finish off, and I got a question for y'all about your personal legend. So let's take a look at, we're going to skip this icebreaker that we had with Derrick Henry. We'll move that to the end. Let me move that to the end. Just talking about the importance of fathers, all right, and how his father played a role. Shout out to Derrick Henry and his pops. Let's take a look at this valuetainment video. Let's finish the letter. It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.